I'll start looking at 28. This person, I assume at 28 years old, could potentially be a career change. It could be never having a career, depending on maybe you just work different jobs or whoever was hiring, but now you decide, okay, I want to make want a little more stability. In that case, the reason I like 28 here is, like, we've talked about it previously, and we'll have some guests on later. Here in Charlotte, there's a program they call Road to Hire. They look for people between the ages of 18 to 26. And oftentimes through my research, I'll find that there is often a lot of those types of programs, right, that are like geared towards people who maybe didn't go the college route, but they're young, not want to say impressionable, but can be molded and can be handed this skill to transform their lives from a financial perspective. At that 27, 28 through 30 range, you're kind of like the teenager in the orphanage. Like, we don't want to bring you home. You're not as cute and cuddly. So there's this,
that's sad.
Right? But there's much less programs that support that age group. They kind of just figure you got to get it by yourself. So that's what I suggest to that 28-year-old. I always wear my cap and gown. I'm a proud alumni of YouTube University. The path to me for that 28-year-old is much different than the drive, or much less important, I'll say, than the drive that that 28-year-old needs. You're going to be most likely with a family, most likely with people who depend on you at that age. But the amount of time that is going to take from a coding perspective, learning a new language or a coding language, you're going to have to shut the rest of that non-dependent world down.
Yeah.
You kind of have to just lock in, because you're already against the time clock, quote unquote, compared to that person who has that 4-year head start and has those other things. So taking advantage of those Pluralsight, Udemy courses, oftentimes this is the time and age where people start to understand a little more about themselves. They've been out of school for a decade, so hopefully they still have the same learning connections that they're able to grasp and learn. Sometimes that's not the case. So traditional schooling may work or may not work in those situations. So how do I find the skill shares and the online courses? Do I need to have a real conversation with myself? Can I go self-paced and go through these things myself? Or do I need to go to a community college or somewhere in person to go get these skills myself? Where do you typically point people of this range? Because now time is of the essence. I might not have 4 years like that 18-year-old to make that change. Time is of the essence now.
I feel like I have a much more aggressive opinion with this persona.
Okay.
So let's look at your advantages as this persona. Your advantages are you've ideally lived and gained some experience, whether it's and the fact that it's not directly related to tech or programming, etc. It's still related to life.
Absolutely.
So you need to find the overlap of how you can utilize your experience to enhance your value proposition as a person, as a candidate to enter in the tech. Because you can, and there are things that are valuable. The other side of that, and this is where the aggressive part of the opinion comes into play, you need to be willing to get in however you can get in. I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care what you think you want to do. You need to pursue whatever opportunity is available and learn whatever is required in order to get in.
And that's not to say that down the line, once you're in, you can't make the pivot. Because once you're in, to a degree, you're in. But
once you're in and you get to about 1 to 3 years of experience, then you can start getting creative.
Exactly.
Okay, but you have at least 5 years of work to do right now. 5 years of work. Okay, get that in your head. 5 years of work.
Yeah.
You need to start with picking a path. I don't even care what path, but the path that the industry says is most relevant, seems to be right now, is software engineering roles centered around web development, starting with something like React or Angular or Vue.js. Okay, so that's the thing that they need the most. I'm going to learn that. I don't care if I want to do iOS apps. I don't care if you want to do data stuff. Like, I have the sense of urgency that like you're in a rush.
Exactly.
Okay. And if you're in a rush, we can't consider all of those feelings. We have to be decisive.
We gotta be effective.
So you need to decide, choose the course. If you want a course, I just gave you one, software engineering, because then, and it's going to suck. It's going to be terrible. The first year that you're learning this stuff is going to be awful. And then if you get a job, the first 5 years are going to be hard work.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of positives in that once you get into the job, right? Ideally, you get into a job within a year or so, like in that year and a half. That's what I would target, you getting into a role. And the things you need to do, like do the things you need to do that, which we can get into if you want. But, okay, React or Angular or whatever the local job market says for you. Maybe it's a boot camp. Maybe you have to save up some type of money to join a 90-day boot camp that has connections across like recruitment and organizations and things like that. Like as you're vetting boot camps, make sure that they have real placement stuff.
When people talk to me about it and they'll say, what do you think about this boot camp? Hey man, are they gonna place you?
Yeah.
Well, they said they could help. Do not give them a dime of your money.
Yeah.
Because for the same thing you're paying them, you could pay Pluralsight or Udemy 10% of it and be left with the same amount of connections at the end.
But in this persona we're talking about, I agree with you. Let me say, I agree with you. In this persona we're talking about, though, if we're keeping it hot, they haven't got here by working super hard.
Well, maybe they made a change.
A lot of them. Look,
hard
I'm saying that's great.
Yeah.
You made a change. That's great.
But now it's on to work hard on something different.
But those people, if you were motivated to do all that self-learning, you would have done the self-learning. Like true. Now maybe something would have happened. Maybe you got a kid on the way. Maybe some event happened, right, that has sparked it, and you can, jump into the self-learning. But if you're just the same person, there's no major life change or event, the odds of them being able to just go on their computer instead of looking on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram and going to Pluralsight or Udemy,
that's rough.
It's low. Like you remember, even when I taught the bootcamp, I had a hard time with this. So I'm telling people, go to Pluralsight, go to Udemy. And they're like, I just learn better in person.
That's a real thing.
They say it a lot.
It's a real thing.
And I'm not saying out of I did a boot camp. Hold on. I taught the boot camp because of the feedback, because I tried to give folks cheap, inexpensive resources they could use on their own time. And the feedback was, I learn better in a group.
Learn better
I can't do it. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't understand.
We've talked about that before.
But it's real.
It's very real.
And so I have to acknowledge that as a real thing for other people.
Yes.
So that's the only reason I say boot camp.
But all right, so even to put a quick pin in this, that kind of brings up to this point. For this is going to be unanimous for both the 28-year-old and the 38-year-old. And something you've said to me months ago, maybe years ago, you're going to have to relearn how to learn.
Yes.
You're going to have to relearn basic skills, those basic reading and writing skills that you haven't tuned since you were in school, like government applied, you got to go, or your parents go to jail school. And you're going to have to, if you want to be successful in this same, take a look at your habits. That's when you're getting to the reading. Like now you got to start reading books, those self-improvement books, because you have to learn how to apply yourself to different things and to apply yourself to things that you may not particularly like. But it's like going to the gym. Like some people like working out and it's very easy for them. Some people need the end that working out will bring them, but they struggle through it.
Yep.
The easiest path to me is go get a trainer, because that adds accountability. That's when people go, I need a group, I need other people, I need to be in person. The long-lasting effect to me is I have to learn how to rewire my brain so that I like this. Even if I have to lie to myself, even if I have to completely work or gamify or find something around this. That will be the thing that lasts with me longer, because that trainer might get sick and not be there on the day I need to work out. Or my gym partner may not be able to make it when I got to go. But if I can talk myself into it, that's what lasts. So pick up the book, audio book, all those self-improvements. Anytime you open Audible, there's a million of them right there in front of you. It's a $1 trillion industry for a reason. You're going to have to relearn how to learn.
And if you don't, I don't care about your success. Like, I'm just keep it hot with you. I'm zero. If you aren't willing to do this thing.
But this is part of what we talked about last week.
Look,
if you're not willing to help you, I can't help you.
Exactly. I'm like, look, I'm not going to be more invested in your success than you are. And as much as I hate programs like the ones we talked about, putting an age gap, like cap.
There's a reason for
I don't like that. But I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you run into folks, and obviously this isn't everyone, but stereotypically, when you run into folks over a certain age, they have these bad habits that they are just confidently and aggressively promoting in their own lives and become deeply offended if you challenge them.
Yeah, I just don't do that. I don't read.
You tell a lot. Yeah. You tell us. I'll be like, oh, they ask you, what should I do? They see us, someone who's young in comparison, right? And they're like, what should I do? I mean, I'm 29. How old are you now?
28.
Yeah, 29, 28 years old. We've been in the game for close to like pushing a decade now.
Yeah.
Speaking personally, right?
It's about 6 to 10 years between both of us. Yeah.
So you ask me, what should I do? And I say, well, figure out a way to educate yourself. Step one, videos, blah, blah, whatever. You keep talking to me, right? That's why I give you just kind of entry level because, whatever. Videos are easier. But if we really have a conversation, it eventually gets to, if you're pushing hard enough, the videos aren't going to give you what you need to know.
Absolutely.
Videos aren't going to give you what you need to know. So you're going to have to go to books and you're going to have to read. And if you come back to me and you say, oh, well, I don't like reading, to which my response is, I don't care. Like, we're talking about necessity here. I don't care if you don't like to read.
People in this profession read.
Yeah, first of all, I don't even believe you, but that's the whole other thing. I don't believe you. I just think you're bad at it. And people don't like things that they're bad at.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's
because
fine.
we could get better at it.
Of course. Like, I don't think I'm good at baseball. I'm good at a lot of different sports. I'm not good at baseball.
Fair.
Like, I don't like even how I have to throw the ball. Like, when I was growing up, me and my pops weren't throwing the baseball back and forth. We were throwing the football back and forth. So whenever I hold a baseball in my hand, it feels unnatural. I don't like it. I don't like having the mitt on my hand. If I could choose, I would never play baseball ever again in my life.
I thought you were gonna say if you could choose, you would just play baseball with no mitt and just like.
Oh yeah, I've done that, like just messing around. But
yeah, continue.
The bat, that's fine. That's all right. That's kind of fun. But everything else involved with the sport, I don't
Not
like.
Interested. Yeah.
Am I gonna go ahead and say, oh no, I hate baseball? No, I'm bad at baseball. I'm just not good at it. So I can say I don't like it, and that's my natural inclination to say I don't like it. But if I was good at baseball, I'm sure I'd like it.
Absolutely.
I'd enjoy it.
Absolutely.
It would be a great time.